I welcome you all to this evening, a very, very special evening for us. And we have literally launched our journal now. It's now gone live on our website. So I hope you all will take a look and read it and contribute in whatever way you can.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. And it's my great honor to introduce you to Karima Benham, who is a professor of law at UC Davis and has been working in international law and human rights for a very long time, winning many, many honors and prizes for it. Recently was made the UN, I'm going to have to get this correctly, the UN Special Rapporteur in the field of cultural rights. But we are here this evening to talk about, and also to thank her for her book, this completely wonderful book, Your Fatwa Does Not Apply Here, Untold Stories from the Fight Against Muslim Fundamentalism.
So much, Maureen, for that very kind introduction. It's really a tremendous honor to be here. I want to thank the founders of Feminist Dissent, both for their invitation to speak, but also for their tremendously hard work in putting together the journal and in putting together this event. And I hope you'll all join me in giving them a huge round of applause that they deserve. My diatribe this evening, I'll get through it, as much of it as I can, is called The Privilege of the Sponge, and I'll explain what that means. The Privilege of the Sponge, Fighting for the Right to Feminist Anti-Fundamentalist Dissent. And here you see the wonderful logo of the new magazine. And what I really want to talk about with my time is how I understand the importance of what Feminist Dissent is trying to do in human rights terms and why it absolutely needs doing. If you go to the About Us page on their website, you'll find that they explain the project as follows. Feminist Dissent is created, or its aim is to create space for feminists who believe that certain approaches currently dominant in academic, activist, and popular discourses, and you have them listed, have included the challenges that women and other dissenters face as fundamentalist movements threaten their rights. And this in particular at a time when we see rising religious fundamentalism, threats to civil liberties, freedom of expression, and so on. And what they're aiming to do is this incredibly important thing of creating the space where we can say the things that we have not been able to say. And I'm going to start by trying to do some of that this evening. And I think this other incredibly crucial aspect of the project, which is to bring theory and practice together. As Catherine McKinnon once said, people say something is good in theory but not in practice, then it's not such a good theory, is it? And so the idea here is to narrow this distance between dominant feminist thinking and women's actual lived experiences. And I have to say, I can't imagine more important projects in the world right now. Now, I started working on this because of one feminist dissenter who happened to be my father, Mahfoud Bennoun, who was doing this work inside Algeria in the dark decade of the 1990s, when what was the Islamic State of that day, called the Armed Islamic Group, was waging war against Algerian society and ended up killing between 100 and 200,000 people. And my father, like so many other people, just wouldn't put down his pen. Even when he got death threats, even when he had to move out of the house, even when he had to stop teaching at the university. And the thing that was always heartbreaking to me was that no one talked internationally about my father and his colleagues in the trade union movement and the feminist movement. If they knew anything about Algeria, they knew something about the terrorists, but they didn't know about the women who would go the next day to bomb craters and fill them with flowers and utterly reject this extremist violence, see them either. So together, my friends, we have to change that. And I am infinitely grateful to the Feminist Dissent founders for creating a space in which we can do just that. Let us join together to make sure that the voices of feminist dissent in the world are louder than the voices of obfuscation or any manifestation of the far right, including all forms of fundamentalism. Thank you very much.
Feminist dissent means freedom of expression. It means the expression of women's full equality, including their equal right to define and to participate in culture.
I have the pleasure of introducing two feminist artists who are also commentators and who are also dissenters. And they are no strangers to accusations, hostility, and even death threats for daring to speak against the currents of racism, xenophobia, nationalism, fundamentalism, and plain old misogyny. It is my great honor to welcome Bhuchar, who will read extracts from her play, Besti.
I wholeheartedly welcome the launch of Feminist Dissent and the opportunity to carve out a space to challenge ideas which are repressive and seek to control and overwhelm. In 2004, sorry, I feel like I'm in an advert, I wrote a play called Besti, the story of Min, an infantilized woman who is a carer for her mother. The pair visit the local Sikh temple for the first time in years because the mother wants to organize a marriage for Min, who is reluctant. After a series of events, Min is raped by the chairman of the Gurdwara committee. Once they find out what has happened, a priest and women at the temple collude to protect the perpetrator. Min maintains her faith in God and in the end hopes to find love with Elvis, her mother's home help. The play was produced by the Birmingham Rep. Word got out and some members of the Sikh community appealed to the local council to withdraw the production. After the first read-through, the lead actress approached me about a particularly brutal scene in which the main character is violently beaten by ladies in the Gurdwara. She pointed out that this was the moment people were bound to object to. Yet to this day, nobody has raised a single concern about this scene. Instead, their issues were only with the setting and the use of religious symbols which they deemed to be blasphemous. Besti opened to daily demonstrations. Audience members and box office staff were called names and intimidated. I recall a banner which read, "Shame on Sikh playwright for her corrupt imagination." The theatre managers were in everyday contact with the police, and hordes of security staff were employed to keep theatregoers safe. The police advised me to leave Birmingham, as they believed I was at risk. Events came to a head after a massive demonstration, and a handful of protesters stormed the theatre. After making a number of arrests, the police informed the theatre they could no longer keep the building or staff safe. Later, another police officer called me to say there'd been a threat to abduct and murder me, and I was given police protection. Hours later, the Birmingham Rep cancelled the play's run, and there was a national and international outcry that religious intolerance had taken precedence over freedom of expression. The theatre's position was immediately attacked by artists and cultural institutions. However, politicians remained silent. One Home Office minister, mindful of the large Sikh population in her constituency, remarked that the theatre had thankfully come to the right decision. The clear message from the police and government was that security was paramount and must override freedom of expression. The storm slowly subsided. I came home weeks later to find CCTV installed outside my flat and security railings over my windows. Besti has subsequently been translated into French and Italian and staged in France, Belgium and Italy. The play is taught at universities all over the world. Even though the production had its heart stopped, play endures. This experience made me more determined than ever to write what I want to write. For if I lose my corrupt imagination, I lose myself. Surely art will always be offensive, because one's imagination is offensive. In 2010, my play Beyond Belief, inspired by the events of Bijdi, was produced by Soho Theatre in London and Coventry Belgrade. Once again, there were rumours about protests. Before the dress rehearsal, a bombshell landed. The police asked the theatres to pull the play. This seemed to be based on nothing, no intelligence, merely the fear that something may happen. The theatres refused and the play went on without incident. However, once more security was used as an excuse to pander to fundamentalism and curtail the showing of art. In the current climate, art pertaining to religion raises alarm bells for many institutions. I know of instances where individuals' work has been vetoed for fear of the wrong message being conveyed or the organisation being vilified. The message being that the risk attached feels too big and putting the work on is simply not worth the bother. Religion is a belief system, an art, some would argue, in itself. Should such a belief system have special rights above any other art? Religion has followers, buildings, money, power. An artist has nothing but a voice. Is their faith so weak that they are so easily offended? As the daughter of working-class immigrants, I understand the agony of being rejected and humiliated by a host nation. In the response play I mentioned, Behad, I explored the plight of Sikh protesters who feel they have endured years of suffering in the UK, and that by writing a play like Bijdi, I was making their suffering worse. The unspoken shame carried by these characters is played out in their desire to show the world that they have survived, that they are successful, aspirational, and finally belong. However, as an artist, I claim the right to tell the story of the nightmare behind this dream, to present life, warts and all. Artists must have the freedom to explore the extremities of their imagination, to provoke and poke around amidst the dirt and filth of the human condition. If not, art becomes sanitized and homogeneous because it is only born of fear, a corrosive fear that is the enemy of creativity. Art's function, after all, is not to maintain the status quo, but to change the world, and some people are never going to want that to happen. Neil D'Souza and I are now going to read a scene from Bijdi. Here, Min meets Mr. Sandhu, the chairman of the Gurdwara committee, who she believes is going to show her a list in order to arrange her marriage. And this is for Kandil Baloch. Bijdi, Scene 11, Gurdwara, Galti, mistake, wrongdoing. Min is alone in Sandhu's office area. She paces around, not knowing what to do. She picks up the gibban. She starts having a sword fight with an imaginary opponent. She moves around vigorously and becomes increasingly relaxed. On the desk, she notices a Bee Gees CD and regards it, surprised. She hums How Deep Is Your Love and sways while she's holding onto the gibban. As the musical feelings rise inside her, she starts to dance with the gibban. Her movements are big and bold and fill the space. While she is humming and dancing, Mr. Sandhu enters. He watches Min. Suddenly she spots him and stops dead. They contemplate each other. She hands him the gibban. He puts it back in its place.
You look like you were enjoying yourself.
I didn't mean to enjoy myself.
How are you?
I don't know.
We met when you were little, in the park. You're riding a purple tomahawk.
Did you have a greasy face?
No. I'm sure I was well groomed.
I don't remember much.
Please, sit.
What, me? Min goes to sit down. She indicates the CD. What are you doing with music?
It keeps me going
Oh, I know what you mean.
for all the bad moments. And believe me, there have been enough of those. Sometimes I find it all very hard. No one understands my plight.
Don't depress yourself. She reaches in her pocket and takes out a tissue. Here you are.
Thank you for being so caring.
It's only been used once.
I had the pleasure of hearing our next guest at the launch of the Women Against Fundamentalism book, Stories of Dissent and Solidarity, not so long ago. This next guest is one of the funniest and sharpest female commentators around. Recently, I read an article by her in the Comment is Free section of The Guardian, entitled, "Who Will Speak Up for Israeli Citizens' Right to Free Speech?" It addresses the growing culture of racism, patriotism, and censorship in Israel. Unsurprisingly, she was labeled a self-loathing Jew for her efforts. Daphne Baram is an Israel-born stand-up comedian, a lapsed human rights lawyer, a journalist, editor, and commentator. Last year, her show tackled UK immigration authorities, and this year she is following this country's political havoc as it rolls along. Her full show, Begging to Differ, is on at the Camden Fringe in August. Please give a warm welcome to Daphne Baram, who is back by popular demand.
How are you feeling in 2016? You're right. Yeah, I was just thinking, I don't even have a feminist joke anymore. I mean, I had a feminist joke, but then she declared that she's no longer running for the leadership of Labour. She's gone just like that, just like that. But you have to admit, women are kind of coming out there in politics. We just had two contenders for the Tory leadership, right? Andrea Tsim and Theresa May. I couldn't remember their names for a while, so just in my head, I called them Mummy Thatcher and Childless Thatcher. And then Mummy Thatcher, she just basically dug her own grave there because she said that Childless Thatcher does not have a stake in the future because she does not have children, right? I was outraged. Did you hear that? I was outraged for about 5 minutes, and then I thought, listen, Daphne, don't you sometimes say to yourself, your life is such a mess, it's lucky you don't have any children, right? I do, I honestly do. I'm like, this ends here, good. Come on, let's do whatever we want. Let's just do it. I mean, I think, I felt though a bit pained as a woman without children as well, as a child-free woman, as I'd rather call it. I felt a bit offended to hear that I will not have any stake in the future. I think I have a stake in the future. I actually hope that I have a stake in the near future, preferably sirloin with peppercorn sauce. This is how I like it. Medium done, please, medium done. Nice. So I woke up the morning of Brexit, that Friday morning, that fateful Friday morning, I'm sure you'll all remember it for a long time, to a text on my phone from a British friend. And she said, "Oh my God, hun, I'm so sorry. I feel ashamed to be British." So I called my brother in Jerusalem and told him to buy pounds. I honestly did. And then the next thing that happened was that I got the five next texts were all marriage proposals for my Israeli passport. Who's desperate now, motherfuckers? Just saying. Because, you know, people started saying immediately after Brexit, British people and foreign people, immigrants and local people, started saying, oh no, I don't feel at home anymore in this country. I don't feel at home anymore. I actually think this whole Brexit thing was done only to make me feel more at home. I mean, you know, rising racism, politicians not taking any responsibility, whiff of violence just brewing in the air. And I was thinking, just bring the sunshine and I will feel like it's in Jerusalem. So, hello, my name is Daphne Baram. I'm a stand-up comedian and a journalist.
I'm originally from Israel. I live in London now. I think interestingly enough, as a comedian, you have a lot of opportunities to make your feminist sensibilities tickled and sometimes even punched into.
The last thing that there remains for us to say is please go and read the journal. Unfortunately, we don't have it up here, but you should have all got bookmarks as you came in, and the website to the journal is on the bookmark. If you don't have one, come and find one of us and we will give you a bookmark. So you can take it home and have it with you, so you can be sure to go on the website and check it out.
And read our first issue. So we're just plugging the journal tonight. Do take some time to read that first issue. We think it's a fantastic start. And thank you all for joining us this evening. We're going to hand it.